Hello everybody! Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie. I read a lot of books, I've been binge watching a few series, and I recently started binge watching Handmaid's Tale from the beginning again. I have done seasons 1 and 2 before, but I kind of wanted to get back into it so I could watch it all properly. I'm currently now on to series 3, but I am going to start talking about season 1 of The Handmaid's Tale. I will say the book is one of my favourite books of all time, and I recently finished reading The Testaments, which is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, which really does make me think of season 1. Well, it makes me think of the whole thing in a brand new light, having read The Testaments, because you'll hear from the point of view of Aunt Lydia looking back on her role in Gilead, and yeah, it just So if you don't know what The Handmaid's Tale is, it's a dystopian future series. It was originally a book written in the 80s by Margaret Atwood, and the plot features a dystopia following a second American Civil War where a society subjects fertile women called handmaids to childbearing slavery. So in this dystopian future, fertility has gone way down. Women aren't having children anymore. Any people that do get pregnant, the pregnancies aren't viable, they lose a lot of children, and so it comes to a point when they are looking for anybody who is fertile and can carry a child to kind of carry on society. And this is in America. So America is turned into Gilead. And you find out through the story that there are some states that never got fully converted to it, so they become their own countries, because Gilead is its own country. The Handmaid's Tale, the book, follows Offred in diary form. By the end of the book you find out that it's all done on tape, as in like cassette tapes, videotapes, and I think for the television series they haven't actually said how it's going to end up being found. They might update it as the series goes on to not be on tape and maybe use a different form of communication. A lot of the fans of the book decided that Offred's real name was June, because June was a name that was used in the book in reference to other handmaids that never got associated with somebody. All the other names mentioned became associated with other handmaids, but the name June never came back up again, so they deducted that June was Offred, which the author came out and said that wasn't my intention, but the fact that people have made this connection, I am not going to shit on that. And I think Margaret Atwood has ultimately embraced Offred being June. So, season 1 of The Handmaid's Tale, that was a very, very long introduction, I feel. Fertility rates have completely dropped. And you find out that Gilead has come about from a civil war in which extremely, I say religious. It seems that a lot of the origins of Gilead do have bases in religion. I know that the author of the book has mentioned that the creation of Gilead in her mind is based on things that have happened through history, and so I think that's what makes it 10 times more terrifying, the fact that it is based on real things that have happened and things that, you know, history can repeat itself in a way, because we all know that history does repeat itself, you know, things cut back round. I think it was Victoria Wood who said that time works in concentric circles. But yeah, when you meet June Offred and kind of see the backstory for her and how she ended up in this place in Gilead, and you know what she did to try to escape it, you get lots of flashbacks to kind of the time before Gilead, the lead up to America being taken over. Offred is named, or all the handmaidens are named for the person that they serve. So in Offred's case, it means that her master, her commander, is Fred. So it's just like if somebody's commander was called John, they'd be called of John. But yeah, Fred Waterford, he's a high-ranking government official in Gilead. He and his wife, Serena Joy, were instrumental in kind of the founding of Gilead. And it is interesting as you go into the backstory of Serena Joy, in realising how she thought she was doing everything for good, she thought she was doing something for women, and then as soon as Gilead becomes a thing, her role is so greatly reduced. In the book, she was described as a more elderly woman, so for the series they made her younger, and she's played by Yvonne Strahovski, who, oh my god, she's insane. Yvonne Strahovski as Serena Joy is incredible and disturbing and so brilliant. There are so many times throughout the series where I just thought, oh, we've got a sympathetic side to her, and then, oh my god, she's psycho. It's the moment when she thinks that Fred might be pregnant, and she's like throwing her around, and you're just like, seriously, if she's pregnant, you're going to cause her to lose the baby. And she throws her onto the floor, and then she gets out the pregnancy test and says, pee on this stick, and I'm just like, wow, she's lost it. You see that Serena Joy, she's deeply religious. The episodes where you do look at that backstory and like how what she thought she was doing was for greater good, and when you realise how diminished her role has become as Gilead has taken over, you feel sorry for Serena. You really do, because you realise, oh, she thought she was doing something. She thought she was bringing back family values, and then she's ended up in this world where women are raped on a regular basis with children, and she just has to act like, oh, this was the plan all along, when really she has been put to the back seat. Just like, she was allowed up front, she was allowed to do everything, and they're just like, no, you are to the back now, you are a second-class citizen now, and you don't have any rights anymore. You created this world, thank you for that, but now you're going to take a back seat. So with that, you really do feel sorry for Serena. I think she's as much a victim as everybody else, in a way. It's one of those things where she was manipulated into her role in Gilead. And even though it keeps coming back that she is vicious at times, I think that's her retaliating against her role in Gilead. Doesn't make any sense. I will say, Madeline Brewer as Janine, my goodness. I've never seen Madeline Brewer in anything before. I think she was in Orange is the New Black, but I've never seen Orange is the New Black. I do plan on binge watching it at some point. I've just never gotten around to it. I feel like it's a commitment. I've heard that it can get quite dark, to be fair though. I don't think dark will put me off, because I feel like I've gained a second stomach when it comes to some stuff, especially because this show is graphic. There's an episode where the handmaids and Aunt Lydia are forced to kill somebody. Aunt Lydia gets all the girls involved whenever there's anyone who breaks the rules, and there's one man who rapes a pregnant woman and the baby dies, and Aunt Lydia obviously tells the girls what this guy has been arrested for, and says, yeah, this man raped a woman, she was pregnant, the baby died, and that gives them the incentive to beat him to death. And that is a horrible, horrible scene. But it shows you the influence that the aunts have over the handmaidens. And I'll admit, when I first watched season 1, I was absolutely terrified of Aunt Lydia. She gave me the heebie-jeebies. I used to have nightmares about Aunt Lydia. And so there came a point when I actually Googled interviews with Anne Dowd, the actress who plays Aunt Lydia, so that I could get the image of Aunt Lydia out of my head and have the actress there instead, because that tells you how good somebody is when they infiltrate your nightmares. That's how good they are. And yeah, I've now seen Anne Dowd in other things, not playing Aunt Lydia, and it brings my pulse rate back to normal. But Aunt Lydia I found absolutely terrifying. So now that I've read the Testaments and I can see Aunt Lydia's role in Gilead and what she did afterwards and how she led to the downfall of Gilead, spoiler alert, it just makes me look at Aunt Lydia in a whole new light, and I almost want to watch season 1 and 2 again now that I've read the Testaments and see if there was anything there, because I know that the author of the book was involved in bringing it to the screen. So if she had an idea of where this was going and what was going to happen in the Testaments, if she already had that seed planted in her mind, I wonder if she did say anything to the actress, Anne Dowd, and if that had any bearing on the way she portrayed Aunt Lydia. Basically, season 1 is a book plus a deeper backstory so that they could develop the season. And Offred's story, as in like her family life, what happened leading up to the creation of Gilead, just the whole concept of it, and the idea that women are just to the point where it's just like, yeah, we're going to take your rights away from you. You're not allowed to read. We're just going to treat you as incubators. We're just going to kind of rape you, essentially, because that's what they're doing. They are raping the handmaids to force them to have kids. They don't really have any say in it. Because when you see the episodes where you look back on when the handmaids were being trained up and when they'd been pulled out of society and said, you are going to be a handmaid, you know, this is an important role, but none of them wanted to do it. They were forced to do it. Seeing Offred, or I kind of just want to refer to it as June, because calling it Offred just sounds really, really wrong. I think it's because it makes her owned by someone else, which is essentially what the handmaids are. They are owned by their commanders and their wives. That's why they're there. Once they have a child with one family, they're moved on to another one. Especially in the story, the fact that you find out that Fred Waterford, the commander, is essentially sterile, and this whole thing is really for nothing. Serena comes in and says, look, I know he's sterile. I know that he won't be able to have a kid, which is why I'm going to let you sleep with somebody else to have this child. So I mean, I've got the Wikipedia page up so that I don't get confused between like the other seasons I've watched. And under the information for Serena, it says she's poised, deeply religious, capable of great cruelties, often callous to June, desperate to become a mother, and has accepted her new role in a society she helped create. I don't think she's fully accepted that role. There are so many times when you see her looking at Fred and you just think, no, she's angry. She's really angry. Because she helped create it, but she didn't quite realise what she was doing in that process. It's like she was just thinking, oh, this is to affect other people, it's not going to affect me. She never thought about how it was going to affect her. She was too bothered worrying about what other people were doing, but never thought that that society would suppress her. And as somebody who was educated and an activist, and then suddenly it's just like, oh no, you don't have to do that anymore. You know, she was standing up in front of people and talking to people and saying, you know, that I want us to go back to, you know, these religious-based conservative roles where the woman stays at home and things, and it's just like, but she doesn't actually want to do that, because she's standing up in front of other people, she's educated, you know, she's confident. But in her new role in Gilead, she has no power. She has absolutely no power. So I don't think that Serena really thought about it. I'm acting like she's a real person here. But I don't think that ultimately the character of Serena really understood what she was doing when she helped to create Gilead. She thought she was fighting for religious values, which in a way she was, but she never realised she was fighting for her own role in society to be stepped back. I know that this kind of story isn't for everybody, you know, it is dark, not everybody likes the idea of seeing something that the world could become one day, and I do hope that this never becomes real. I think sometimes having stuff like this reminds people that no, we need to fight to make sure this does not happen. But yeah, so through the story you've realised that June and her husband and her daughter did try to get out before Gilead took hold, but June and her daughter never made it out. Her husband did manage to make it into Canada, but June and her daughter never did. And that's part of a strong storyline going through all the seasons, to be honest, of June trying to be reunited with her daughter and her husband. Her main reason for fighting is to get her child back and to get her husband back. I mean, the season 1 finishes with the episode where Serena forces June to take the pregnancy test, which ends up being positive. So we find out that June is pregnant, but not by Fred. Another really strong storyline going through is the story of Janine, played by Madeline Brewer, who as I said before, she's absolutely incredible in this season. The storyline for Janine is completely heartbreaking. Yeah, so Janine becomes of Warren, of Daniel and of Howard. And she enters the Red Centre, which is where they trained all the handmaids and everything. She entered there at the same time as June. June and Janine considered friends. I think throughout it you realise that June genuinely does care about the girls that she's gone through with everything. Because Janine was initially non-compliant, she has her right eye removed during training. But yeah, throughout you realise that Janine is incredibly childlike. Not childish, childlike, and there is a big difference there. Childish is when you know better, childlike is when you don't. But before Gilead, Janine was a waitress and she had a child, she had a son, and when she does become pregnant in Gilead, it's obvious that she's going through prepartum depression and postpartum depression. As I was watching it, I was just there thinking, this is set in the future where there has been lots and lots of research into depression in pregnancy and post-pregnancy, and why they never considered that in the creation of Gilead and what they were doing to the handmaids. Did it ever cross their minds that taking babies away from their mothers was going to have an effect on them that might affect the depression? Because it is so obvious that Janine is going through postpartum depression when she is forced to hand the child over after she's given birth. And I was screaming at my television thinking, why did you never consider this? They do nothing to help Janine with the crossover, with that change. So when Janine does go off the deep end and she's just like, no, I have named my child, I want to run away with him, I do not want to give him over to the people who say that they're going to look after him and say that they're his parents, her parents, when they're not. Because Janine knows, this is my baby. It was from my egg, it was from me. I am not handing this child over. So there is an episode where she tries to kill herself and the baby, and June is brought in to kind of calm her down a bit and say, is this really what you want? Is this really what you want? And yeah, that whole thing with Janine's storyline is really, really heartbreaking to see where it ends up. Yeah, it did happen in season 1 for a second. I thought it happened in season 2 and I thought it jumped ahead. I think there's so much that as you watch it, you realise there was so much that they didn't think about. There's so much there where if any sane person was involved, they would have said, hang on a second, wait, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? They haven't thought of the consequences of it all. And when you see kind of the whole thing of like other countries still trying to agree to some kind of trade with Gilead, and you actually have June in the kitchen alone with representatives of other countries saying, we are treated terribly, they rape us, they don't care about us, all this, please help us. And then the officials are there looking at her saying, we can't help you. The world and our country relies on having a good relationship with Gilead, so we are not going to turn on you. We are not going to save you. And that is a real kind of like stamp on everything, and realising why the whole world hasn't completely turned on Gilead. Because for starters, the officials in Gilead are trying to present this as like normal and saying this is working for us, you know, we're having children. Like there's a point when they have this like big banquet event and they say, here are the children of Gilead, these are the children that have been born in Gilead, you know, because obviously the whole world is in the same thing of fertility rates dropping, and so they're trying to present Gilead as being something that's working and it's giving these children back into the world. And you know, it puts a smile on everybody's faces, but then the handmaids are there going, but at what cost is this? That's some of my comments on season 1 of Handmaid's Tale. But yeah, that's just some of my thoughts on season 1 without spoiling everything that happens. It's terrifying and brilliant at the same time, and just so disturbing. The fact that Aunt Lydia gave you nightmares, though, tells you everything you need to know about Aunt Lydia. I feel like I've said so much and said so little, but I can't even remember what I said about the book. I think Handmaid's Tale was on one of my first bookish videos when I first started the channel, when my hair was like here and like red. So thanks for watching. That was season 1 of The Handmaid's Tale. On the next video like this I'll be talking about season 2, and I've been reading lots of books lately, so there should be plenty of books coming your way, and I'm hoping to get into singing again. Yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week with another video. See ya.